Good morning, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. Acknowledge Yahweh Shai. I pray the Most High blesses this lesson today. Gives more understanding of the events of the past, which will then help us to be able to decipher the events of today and have more understanding of the things that are soon to come on the earth. Brethren, this is an absolutely amazing time to be alive and to be awakened. I was listening to Elder Al Yul's video, his fellowship last night, and it was absolutely amazing. I'm going to make sure I share that. I think that was one of the best fellowships sermons I've heard in my entire life. And I just thank the Most High that he brought Elder Al Yul into my life in order to give me more clarification on the things that I've been doing. You know, it's just amazing because you look at it like we're opposites, and that's exactly what the Most High wanted. He's great at fulfilling the gaps that my ministry has. You know, many of the shortcomings that I have, he fulfills, and it's amazing because the Most High has made it so that we need one another. Just like Shaq didn't win anything before Kobe showed up. Michael Jordan didn't win anything until Scotty showed up. You know, Moses was lacking and he gave him Aaron to work with. And I see exactly the same things happening today. And like I said, it's absolutely amazing to watch how just in a couple months or less than a couple months, this information and this understanding has just taken off. I have my understanding of the Book of Mormon, but then he takes it, Adayu takes it and takes it even a step further and adds his information into it. And it just gives us even that much more understanding. And it's amazing that the Most High had his plan and that no one else understood it. And not until now at the end with hindsight being 2020, you look back and then you really see how the Most High was working, how he was preparing me for my ministry and what I was going to be doing. And he was preparing Elder Al Yul and his ministry and what he was going to do and then eventually bring it all together for the nation in order to give knowledge and understanding and direction. And it's an absolutely beautiful thing. And I thank the Most High for Elder Al Yul and One Nation, One Power and all the people that support his channel. And I thank the Most High for all the people who support my channel as well, and myself, and have now able to see this whole thing coming together. I'm just in awe at this point because never in my wildest dreams did I think a couple years ago that we would be using our new book that has been hidden, the Book of Mormon, how they've taken all of our books and put their names and stamps on it, and how, even till today, people still try to discredit the book because of a couple of things that have been written in it, or they're saying that it's the white man's book, or it's the exact same things that they would say about the Bible. And I just come to the conclusion that the Most High doesn't want those people to see. And, we're here for the ones that the Most High is calling and opening their eyes and trying to give them more. I look at my feed at times on YouTube and look at the videos that are being produced, and it's pretty depressing at times because it's nothing new, nothing really deep, and it's the same things over and over and over again. And if your spirit is yearning for more, yearning for truth, you're not going to find it in very many other places. If you're still stuck in just thinking that the Bible is all of the Word of God, Word of the Most High, and that there's nothing else, and you're just discrediting all this other information, you've been lost in the sauce. There's, the Most High doesn't want you to come further. There's so much more. And we're going to get into something, actually, just something that we've all read many times concerning the plagues. Well, we have to understand, I did a video a little while back, not that long ago, but about Numbers 35 and 33. You got to understand that the enemy, the devil, he knows these scriptures. So what he does is he puts people in positions. Well, first, you got your church. They don't even read the Bible. They just don't even bring up this information. Then the enemy's going to raise up people that are going to use the information, but they're only going to use half of it or part of the information. That's what the devil does. He deceives. So he's only going to use a part of the information. Like in Numbers 35 and 33, we've been taught that, well, if they spill your blood, you get to spill. You have to spill theirs. But that was in the context of cleansing the land. The land is absolutely integral in our cursing and our blessing. So what the devil did was made it so that we would be looking over there this entire time, over there in Africa and the Middle East, for our inheritance, when it's been under our feet this entire time. Now, I mean, if you just think of how ingenious it is, because, you give us 80 books, you take out 14, but then you're the ones narrating the meaning. And I've been saying this for a long time, and Elder Alio brought this up too. How are you going to let your enemy be the one that's going to dictate, the interpretation of our power when they have no relationship with him? He blessed them for a time. He used them to heal or to continue to preserve our books. He used them to pretty much chastise us because of us falling off. But that's all. He did not have a relationship with many of them. He just used them. He used them. And now that we're coming to the end of our chastisement and punishment, he's raising up the true teachers that he wants to use to bring this truth out. The whole truth, not just snippets of it. And I'm going to show you something that you're going to see. We're going to talk about, real quick, the smallpox and the pestilence. And what's funny is this. Okay, I'll show you how the Most High works. I've been studying this for a couple days. And then my son comes home and says, because he's in high school. One of my sons is in high school. And he's like, he's read some of American Holocaust, because we talk about it here at the house or when we're studying. And he said, well, his teacher said that it really shouldn't, the title of the book shouldn't be American Holocaust, because when the Spaniards got here, they didn't know that they were going to, that they were carrying these deadly diseases, and that they were going to get these people sick. But you see how the devil works. They always try to minimize their actions. Well, they did it on accident, so therefore they shouldn't get punished for it. It really wasn't a Holocaust because they didn't bring these diseases over here on purpose to spread to the people. And that is correct, some, and not correct in other things. It was a Holocaust because they actually intentionally killed many people using the sword and many other, other weapons and things at their disposal. So they're just talking about the one way as far as like the pestilences. Yeah, that might not have been exactly what they wanted, but of course they gave their diseases to our people. They knew they had these diseases, and now we did not have any antibodies for them. But ultimately, the Most High was the one that sent those diseases to us. And we're going to get the accounts of the natives and how they knew. Remember, the last video I talked about how as soon as the ships showed up, they knew it was over for them. Even though there was probably hundreds of millions, if not billions of people here, and maybe only 400 or 500 of the Spaniards, they knew that they had messed up as soon as that ship, rolled up on our shores. As soon as these other men came to our shores. They got on their, they came and set foot on our shores. We already knew our goose was cooked. Game over. That's it. Because they realized they knew the Most High was the one that brought these people over here. So if the Most High brought them over here, the Most High has empowered them to be the new kings and rulers over our inheritance over this land. Our people knew the curses. So they knew to read from Deuteronomy down, from 16 all the way down to 68. They knew exactly what was going to come. That's why they were depressed for their children about how these things were about to come on them, because they were aware. See, that's the things that are hidden from American Holocaust. These books, they talk about a lot of the destruction, whatever else. They might try to make it seem like it wasn't intentional. I said, but we knew that it was the Most High ultimately that brought these people over here and pretty much gave us to them. Check this out. We're going to look at real fast. Deuteronomy 28, we've all read this. But when you start to put it together with our lands and what happened here, it makes much more sense. Deuteronomy 28:21. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. So the Most High made a plague that was going to cleave to our people in order to be consumed off of the land. So this pestilence wasn't just so we could just be sick. This pestilence was going to come in order to remove us, kill us from off the land. Let's go to 22. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with a sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. So all these things are going to happen to consume us off of the land. Okay? Next, 26. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. This is huge. Like I said, all these are all parts of prophecy that the Most High was going to use to take us off of the land. He knew that there was millions and millions, hundreds of millions, if not billions of us already over here. He knew he was only bringing over 400 or 500 men initially. So for him to get the glory, just like the movie 300 against millions, that was a divine intervention. It wasn't because they were such great warriors. That was because the Most High must have been there fighting for them as well. Same thing here. These guys show up with 500 people, and there's hundreds of millions of us here, and they take us down. But instead of, the Gentiles didn't give glory to the Most High. They took glory for themselves and said, it was because of their great, their great warriors and their great war machines that they were able to take us down, and didn't give glory to the Most High. And this entire time, they've been very proud and given themselves the glory. But these are very, very specific curses, especially that last one. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. That means that there's going to be no one there to even, everyone's going to be either dying, dead, or sick, or so sick that they can't even fight off these animals that are going to come and just eat all these carcasses that are going to be all over the place in order to cleanse us off the land. So these people, when they say things like, well, they didn't know they were giving that they were going to be giving them disease or whatever else. You don't think that the enemy has read these curses? You don't think when they showed up, they knew that all these things were going to happen to these these Hebrews? Of course they knew. They knew. They had our scriptures as well. Remember now, Columbus used our scriptures to find us over here. So they were well aware of the curses that they were going to be bringing with them when they got here. They knew that the Most High was going to make them sick. They knew that the Most High was going to do all these things to them because they had already messed up. Like I said, the devil knows the scriptures too. So when you hear people saying that, yeah, you're going to be sick. Well, there was a reason why. It was a reason we were going to be sick, based off of here in Deuteronomy, was to pretty much destroy us and get us off the land, because the inheritance was transferred from us to the Gentiles. They knew that we had sheer numbers. I'm going to come up with another video real soon about some other, otherworldly event that pretty much ended the battle that I couldn't even find anywhere on Google. I was trying to look it up and try to look up the information. And it's nowhere on there, but it's in these codexes. It was a biblical or a astronomical event that like an otherworldly event that pretty much stopped the fighting at Tenochtitlan and ended up having the Hebrews give up and surrender to the Spanish. But like I said, the Most High wants all of the glory, but they didn't give it. They didn't give it to him. They actually hid this event. But we'll get into that later on. It was something I had never heard of before. So, like I said, they hide a lot of this information because they don't want people to realize that the Most High was the one that gave them these lands. They want people to believe that they got them because they were such great warriors. But that's what they do. Now, after looking at those 3 verses there in Deuteronomy 28, we'll take a real quick look here at the Florentine Codex. This is book 12 once again. Let me get it real quick. These are the things that happened before the Spanish came back to attack the second time. So it's like the Most High was softening us up for them because he knew that they couldn't take us on their own. He knew that he would have to intervene in order for them to be able to take us down. So here we go. 29th chapter, page 83, Florentine Codex, book 12. 29th chapter, in which it is told how there came a plague of which the natives died. Its name was smallpox. It was at the time that the Spaniards set forth from Mexico. Okay? But before the Spaniards had risen against us, first there came to be prevalent a great sickness, a plague. It was in Tepetitl that it originated, that there spread over the people a great destruction of men. Some it indeed covered with pustules. They were spread everywhere, on one's face, on one's head, on one's breast, etc. There was indeed perishing. Many indeed died of it. No longer could they walk. They only lay in their abodes, in their beds. No longer could they move. No longer could they bestir themselves. That would be like to do anything as far as like physical or even mental activity. Okay. No longer could they raise themselves. No longer could they stretch themselves out on their sides. No longer could they stretch themselves out face down. No longer could they stretch themselves out on their backs. And when they bestirred themselves, much did they cry out. There was much perishing, like a covering like were the pustules. Indeed, many people died of them, and many just died of hunger. There was death from hunger. There was no one to care for another. There was no one to attend to another. There's your Deuteronomy 28 and 26. All right, right there. There was death and hunger right there. Hold on. There was no one to take care of another. There was no one to attend to another. So when you go back and look at that 26, and the carcasses shall be meat unto all fowls of the earth, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away, because there was no one to take care of anybody. So as they died, their bodies just laid there, and these birds would come and eat the dead bodies. And these animals will come and eat the dead bodies. It's a very specific curses that were pretty much on our people. We'll continue. Let's see here. And on some, each pustule was placed on them only far apart. They did not cause much suffering, neither did many die of them. And many people were harmed by them on their faces. Their faces were roughened. And some, the eyes were injured. They were blinded. And that was actually part of the curses too on during 28 and 29. I'm not sure if it's on there. Yes. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore. And no man shall save thee. So sicknesses blinded people, and it pretty much made us oppressed. We were going to be oppressed from that point on because we couldn't fight these people off anymore because the Most High had ordained that. All right. At this time, this plague prevailed indeed 60 days, 60-day signs. When it ended, when it diminished, when it was realized, when there was reviving, the plague was already going toward Chalco. So this plague is moving from place to place. And many were crippled by it. However, they were not entirely crippled. It came to be prevalent in Teotlo, Echo, and it went diminishing in Penquisalitzi. At that time, the Mexicans, the brave warriors, were able to recover from the pestilence. So the Most High spared some to continue fighting. But many, like I say, he was just thinning the herd, killing off a bunch of our people for the battle in order to, tip the scales of battle towards the Spaniards. And when this had happened, then the Spaniards came. So after the Most High had already weakened us, then the Spaniards came. They moved there from Texcoco. They went to set forth by the way of Cuautitlan. They came to settle themselves at Tlacopan. There, the responsibilities were then divided. There was a division. Pedro de Alvarado's responsibility became the road coming. Okay, let me see here. That's good for right now. I just want to, you can read on that, the rest of that on your own. But as you can see, when you're reading these curses, see, when we were first came into the truth, we were kind of just given these curses, and you kind of thought about, these curses. Of course, they're with us today, as far as us being sick and not being in health and things like that, as well as much as we should, But the predominant reason for these curses, and you start reading them, was to get us off of our land. Most of these curses are pretty much going to be associated with when the Europeans came over here and the taking of our lands. And the many of the blessings, when you read from 1 to 15, was what happened when we were over here and we were separated from the other nations on our land. So it's kind of like a lot of these things are going to be repeated, because now the Most High is about to pretty much expel these people who are not supposed to be on our land. Now these curses are going to be shifting to the other nations when they are on a land that they're not supposed to be. You see how that's going to work? See, this wasn't before we got this knowledge and understanding. We just, well, they're going to be destroyed. That's it. This whole land's going to be destroyed. That's it. Nah, the Most High, just like he used these curses to thin us out and to destroy us in order to get us off of a land that wasn't ours anymore, that was given to the other nations, he's going to do the same thing to the other nations. He's going to use these same curses to destroy them, to thin them out and get them off of our land. Brethren, do you think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden yesterday there was a story about Trump looking into buying Greenland? The Most High is confirming what we're teaching, even into the news of the day. What if you know about the other books? Japheth was given what kind of land? The cold lands. What kind of land is over there in Greenland? The cold lands. He's not talking about trying to buy some hot land somewhere. He's not trying to buy some, lush green land somewhere. They were talking about how, well, it's because of natural resources. Well, they've been talking about going into Venezuela this entire time. They haven't done it. Venezuela has a huge amount of resources. They haven't done it. But all of a sudden now, even to have the discussion, they're going to about buying Greenland, because they know that their time here is just about over. But they won't be getting to dictate which lands they get to go and take. Everyone is going to be going back to their original lands that the Most High had given them. They're going to be going back to the original lands that they made the agreement on after the flood with Moses and with Noah and his 3 sons. These plagues, like I said, were used on us to destroy us and take our inheritance away. These curses are going to be used on the other nations in order to get them off of our lands, because it's going to be given back to us as an inheritance. It was never really explained to us this way before, because it wasn't time for us to get that understanding. But look at the people already. They're dying of opioids. They're not able to reproduce, and they're not able to have babies. They're already suffering from mental illness, and they're already realizing that their blessing that the Most High had given them is being taken away. So these curses are already starting to shift, and they're already starting to, diminish these people off of our land. It's like they're omens. They're getting a chance to see what is coming. And now you're hearing about them talking about buying an island in the cold, in the Arctic area, where some of Japheth's lands, I'm sure, would be. The kind of climate that he was given. You think that's any coincidence that that story came out yesterday as we get closer and closer to the end of the 400 years? That's just a signal that they know exactly what's about to happen. They know exactly that the Most High is about to move and about to restore his people. And when you restore his people, that means you're going to restore their inheritance and their land. We've been, Elder Ayul, myself, Quiremio, and all these other brothers, UB News, Lex Will, all these other brothers have been bringing out, Lil Moray have been bringing this information out. And there's been many others that have been bringing out even longer than I have, and other people as well. But the Most High has been putting his hands on many of us to awaken us in order to awaken the rest of the Hebrews as well as the Gentiles to the truth. So he only gives this information to certain people to share and to teach. It's not for everyone. Other people are used to support the Most High's ministry in other ways. But now we are bringing this truth out. And now, he's calling his people back to understand that this land is a paradise, and he's about to restore it back to his children. The plagues were used to take us off the lands, and he's going to use the plagues again to take the other nations off the lands. I did a video about the 4 horsemen and how the 4 horsemen were used, or these plagues were brought on us in order to destroy us. And if you read in 2nd Ezra 15, these 4 horsemen are going to ride again against the Gentiles in order to get them off of our lands once again. So when people keep saying, especially a lot of these Gentiles that are saying, you guys need to go back to your own country, you need to get off of our land, this is our country. Well, the Most High is about to say that through the power of the 4 horsemen, that this is the Most High's children's land, and that you don't belong here, and you need to go back to where you came from. Those aren't my words, that's what Scripture says. Read 2nd Ezra chapter 15, or scroll back and look into the videos that I have done about the 4 horsemen, where I break that down. The 4 horsemen were released on us already. The 4 horsemen were going to be released again on the Gentiles. These plagues were released on us first. These plagues will now be released on you, the Gentiles, who the Most High is not going to allow to stay here soon. He's already releasing them. And now it's a much better understanding. We're not going anywhere. We're not going back to the so-called Middle East. We're not going back to Africa. We're going to be going, only place we're going to be going is back into rulership of our inheritance. That's where we're going. Back into rulership of our inheritance. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.